Salutations, one and all! It's my view of the Rwby official manga, chapter 19, and as I was reading this chapter, I developed a very, very sneaking feeling that was confirmed in the final page. I'm quite saddened to say, but this is the last chapter of the Rwby manga, and that's really heartbreaking because this adaptation did so much right. Gave the characters more depth, more of a chance to talk about themselves, made Blake less useless, made the battles more interesting, just so much good. And I just really wanted to see how it did moving forward. At the very least, I was hoping it would at least make it to the end of Volume 3. That's when things get really interesting and a whole lot of sadness and awesomeness all mixed in together. I would have loved to see what this author could have done adapting Volume 3 into manga form. But unfortunately, that was not the case, and this is where we in the series must part ways. Oh well, let's get into it. So they open up with fights, Yang versus Neo, fairly evenly matched, and like I said in my last video, she's using more tactics and less anger in this fight, so she's doing a whole lot better. I really like that. Blake is still fighting Lieutenant Chainsaw, and I think we actually see this little cloud of dust. I think that was one of Blake's copies that he punched into oblivion based on the shape. That's what I'm thinking at least. If so, that's a pretty cool detail to add in. And the next page, oh my god, this page is so freaking adorable! All of Team Rwby in their PJs reading books together is just so cute, so sweet, and I love it. I freaking love it! That might be my new phone background after this. Anyway, then Rwby and Weiss are still taking on Torchwick. And once more, Torchwick just proves to be an exceptional villain, an exceptional fighter. He used his cane to create a smokescreen to take out Weiss, and then used Ruby's anger about that to lure her into attacking him so he could counterattack and just send her flying into the air. I absolutely freaking love that. Thankfully though, Team Rwby is always there for each other, at least until Volume 4. So Yang and Blake were able to catch Weiss before she smashed into the rocks and was killed her, at least knocked unconscious, and that allowed her to counterattack, sending Torchwick flying into the air. And now that Torchwick is hanging in the air and has lost his weapon, Ruby's able to use Weiss's glyph as a launch pad to smash right into him. And then I just absolutely freaking love that Torchwick took the time to adjust his hat while he's floating in midair, about to be essentially cut into ribbons by Rwby. That is such a classy villain move, and I absolutely freaking love it! I also do just love Torchwick's little evil villain speech for all that happened. What a pity. I'm afraid reality isn't some sweet fairy tale, and you alone are capable of precisely nothing. I mean, freaking Christ, it's like he's been reading her diary. That's exactly, her hopes and her fear. She wants to be like the heroes in the fairy tales that Yang used to read to her. The ones who would go out and save the day, save everyone with a smile on their face. And as for her not being able to do anything by herself, that's actually something... I'm not sure that's something we've seen in the manga or the main series, but in the comics... When she got to Mistral City after Crow was taken away and treated for being poisoned nearly to death, there's a scene where she was stuck in a hedge maze and felt that she couldn't accomplish anything on her own, that everything she's done has always been because she's had her teammates, and without them she was essentially useless. So that is, at least canonically, a fear of hers, that she can't do anything by herself. Though, for now at least, she's thankful to have her team as well as John, Pyrrha, Nora, Ren, Sun, and Neptune on her side, giving her the backup she needs to take him out. I just absolutely freaking love this shot of Rwby as it's clear that she's going to be the hero that saves everyone. But thankfully this series also shown quite a bit of growth in her. As she thinks back to her journey throughout this series, she realizes no such thing as a hero that can truly save everyone. Because even after all the effort she's put in, as hard as she's tried, as hard as her team has tried, and as much good as they've done, they haven't fixed the world. Neo managed to get away, or as Yang called her, that two-tone lady. The White Fang's still out there. There's essentially still a race war going on between the Faunus and humanity. That's still a problem. That Party Crasher is still missing, and Rwby has to accept the fact that she can't save everyone. She can't solve all the world's problems, at least not by herself, but she declares that all of us are going to be heroes who help people. So even if she can't save the day every time, even if she can't fix all the world's problems, her and her team, they're going to do their best. They're going to do what they can to make the world a better place. And that's the most they can do as huntsmen and huntresses. And that's what Rwby wants to do. And of course, they all tease her for being the same old Rwby, but it's certainly different from how she was in the beginning, from the first few chapters. when she declared she'd be the hero that saved everyone, that she would give everyone the happy ending they deserved. Now she's content just to save who she can, to protect who she can. And thus the series comes to an end with all of them laying upon Rwby's hood, as if she's wrapped around them, comforting them, protecting them, letting them know it's all going to be okay, letting them know they're going to keep pushing forward, they're going to keep saving people as only they can do. And I really just love that final shot. A few other things I really love. In one shot, you see this little child waving at Rwby and her team. Like, oh, mama, look, it's the huntresses. They're the ones that saved the day. Oh my god, that must have meant so much to Team Rwby. You know, to be recognized as huntresses like that. To be admired by a child like that. Oh my god, that was just it was such a small moment, but it was so sweet, so adorable, and I absolutely freaking love it. I wonder if that kid's gonna want to grow up to be a huntsman now after witnessing them fighting to keep him and his town safe like that. That'd be so sweet and amazing. And then Dr. Oobleck returns with his Y, and Rwby has a heartfelt reunion with his Y, which, again, just so freaking adorable. I love it. And finally, we have Ironwood and Ozpin having their little back and forth. And I do just love Ironwood is calling him out on it. So, Ozpin, did you send those children into what was essentially a war zone knowing it would turn out like this? Which is a fairly good question to ask. I do love, though, that Ironwood referred to them as young women instead of children like he did previously. That's just a nice touch, showing that he admires and respects what they managed to accomplish on their own. But he's still a little curious about Ozpin, sending them into what could have almost been their certain death. I mean, at one point, Rwby was tied up to a chair with multiple large men surrounding her threateningly. Thank God the rest of her team came to save her when they did. I do not want to imagine what would have happened if they were a minute or two late. And of course, Ozpin does his whole little spiel about free will, how he didn't order them to go into this dangerous war zone, but rather knew they would choose to do it, not out of youth or arrogance, but because they wanted to protect others, they wanted to keep them from harm, and that they will become the light that will keep the darkness at bay. And I do find it rather interesting that he said they will keep the darkness at bay, not drive it back, not extinguish the darkness, but keep it at bay. It's kind of already foreshadowing the fact that the darkness can't be stopped, it can't be crushed, because the leader of the darkness is essentially unkillable. So that's an interesting bit of foreshadowing right there. I'm not sure that was intentional or not, but I kind of like it. Of course, after hearing all this, Ironwood mocks him for his naive idealism, which even Ozpin has to agree with. Yeah, you're probably right. Quite frankly, there's a fairly good chance I could have just sent them to their deaths right there. Oh well, things happen. I'm not sure it's because I know more than when I first watched this series, but first time around, I always thought that Ironwood's opposition to Ozpin, his plans, his tactics, was him not having enough faith in him essentially betraying him just making things worse, but now it seems that Ironwood is more aware of the dangers of Ozpin's ideas and plans and how they can end very, very badly. It feels like he's making fair points against Ozpin instead of just trying to go against him, even if it's the wrong thing to do. Not sure. And thus, the Rwby manga has come to an end. Like I said, very disappointed it's over. Really, really hoping to see the whole Vital Festival, the battles against each other, Yang losing her arm, Blake running away. Honestly, I really just wanted to see Adam. Honestly, this series has done such an amazing job with the characters. I would have loved to see what they've done with Adam. Made him truly, truly feel like a terrifying, unnerving presence. That would have been so amazing. They also skipped Raven's whole intro, so I was really curious what the plan was for that. I could have really seen Raven stepping in to save Yang from Adam after she lost her arm. I think that would have been such a cool change to the series. And seriously, Raven versus Adam, who would not want to see that fight? Sadly, we never will. Unless the entire series decides to get rebooted in a very strange way. Very, very unlikely, but again, that would be an awesome fight to see. Like I said many times, I definitely feel like this manga was an improvement over the first two seasons. A chance to fix a lot of the problems that people had with it, but though I would also just like to clarify, I still love the first two seasons of Rwby. I think they did an amazing job with what they had at the time. They were a little unsure of where they were going, what the path was, what the plan was, and they had a much, much lower budget than they have now. So obviously, this manga version, which knows where the series is going, which knows how fans react to certain events, has a better opportunity to fix those things, to make it better, to improve upon itself. I'm sure if they ever end up redoing the first seasons of Rwby, for whatever reason that would be, they could do something like this and they could really make it spectacular, even better than this was. But yeah, let me think of all this down below. What do you think of the manga? Are you sad that it's ended? What event moving forward would you have really wanted to see this manga cover? Like I said, I think Adam would have just been absolutely spectacular as a villain here. I mean, they did such a good job making Torchwick feel truly, truly terrifying. I would love to see what they do with him. Let me think of all this down below, and just thank you so much for taking this journey with me, for watching my reviews, for hearing my thoughts on this manga. I'm glad to have gone through the journey with all of you. And until next time, peace!